everybody to Let's Talk Toku. I'm your host, Squall Charlson, and today we are going to be turning the page on another episode of Season 1 here. I'm here with my friend, Roliver.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Roliver Queen. Squall, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Wait, do you pronounce it Roliver or Roliver?
Either or. It's mostly Roliver because it's like a play on Oliver Queen.
Right, that's what I thought, but I was like... I was like practicing saying it earlier, and I was just like, that sounds the best. I think that's the right one. And then, of course,
Nah, it's all good, man. Like people flip flop back and forth, so it's all good. Don't worry about it.
So, what are we going to be talking about today on the show? I know the title just came up, but if anybody didn't tune in quick enough, could you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
We're gonna be talking about a little bit of comics. Talking about who am I in the tokusatsu community? What do I do? And some kick-ass tokusatsu Kamen Rider stuff. Where we're just gonna break it down. Well, mostly all of it.
Perfect. So let's start it off. Who are you? What's going on?
So I guess I can say I'm like the comic book enthusiast. I joined the fandom. I want to say 2012, 2013. I used to be a regular on Ranger Board, Ranger Crew. Then I left that, and then I hopped on Twitter, and then I just started following random Power Ranger accounts. So I became friends with a couple people in that community, and then one of them, which is Ginga Herb, he introduced me into like the world of Toku Twitter. So that's where I've kind of just been hanging out, but mostly like my interests are basically centered towards comics. I'm not that big of a tokusatsu guy, but I mean, I do love Power Rangers. So I keep tabs on everything that's happening there. But yeah, mostly like if you ask people, I'm the comic guy.
Awesome. I used to be like super into comics. Like back in like 2011. We can talk about this more after the show if you want. Some people watching, who may be familiar with me and what I've done before, they'll know where that went. But I actually worked with DC for a little bit. And super huge, super fun opportunity. And I was just so enamored with just collecting comics. And I've kind of been doing that with some of the current stuff that I unfortunately have not read yet.
That's all good, dude. There's a lot out right now.
And a lot of it's really good too, which is the hard part.
Yeah, dude. It's like, I mean, my ritual is like I go to work. Well, I work from home, and then like right after that, like I get on the bike and I bike like 45 minutes to the comic shop, and I have to get my comics every week, and that's just been like a tradition for me for like the past 4 years.
I used to do this thing. I worked at a shop where I was the sole employee there. I was running the whole thing. And so when I got there is when the shop opened, and it had to open at 9, but that's also when the comic book store opened. And so on Wednesdays, we opened a little bit later on Wednesday.
Good man.
Except one of the days I was driving back, and I must have been speeding. I think I was going around like maybe 90.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, oh man, I really got to get back. But it was a good week that week, if I remember correctly. So you got into tokusatsu ultimately from Power Rangers and talking through, like the forum-based boards and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So have you watched a lot of like outside of Rangers? Have you watched obviously like Kamen Rider or Sentai or Ultraman, anything else?
I've only seen a handful of Sentai, so I've seen a little bit of Old Ranger. I watched the Old Ranger versus Car Ranger movie. That's actually one of my favorite tokusatsu movies of all time. Because I mean, I'm a huge Power Ranger Zeo fan, so and it was just awesome to see the turbo suits, Zeo suits. Never happened in the TV show, but it happened in tokusatsu. So it's like I have to watch this. So I've seen a little bit of Old Ranger. I've seen the entirety of Gokaiger. I've seen the entirety of LVP. And I've seen a little bit of Ryu Soldier. Before COVID, I was like slowly making my way through Zyuohger. My plan is to finish that one because I'm really enjoying it. I just need to like sit down and like watch it.
So what? I gotta ask, like, why did COVID stop you from continuing with Zyuohger? Is it just time restraints now, or?
It's time restraints mainly. Because alongside Georgia, I was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is another show that I've been trying to get into. Yeah, there's like a bunch of other shows as well, and just Georgia just happened to be one of the bunch that I kind of just lost track with.
Mhm.
But again, it's an amazing show. I love Yamado. I love the rest of the cast. I literally just got past when Joe the World was introduced, and those couple episodes were balling.
I like
So I
Bizarre.
know I have to keep watching.
Yeah. It's funny because I know a lot of people watching at home have the exact opposite. They have too much time. They're, watching new shows, like on TokuSHOUTsu. They're doing anything that they can to fill that time. So I'm glad you're keeping busy.
Yeah, I'm trying, man.
So you've only seen a handful of Sentai. Do you like it more than Rangers, or is Rangers still, like a place in your heart that's going to be untouched?
Rangers is still a place in my heart. Yeah, that's probably never gonna change. Yeah, I don't know. It's for me, it's a little easier to sit down and like watch Power Rangers because it's like it's very, I want to say a little more accessible because I could just hop on Netflix and I could just like watch every single season. Where I feel like with Sentai, I guess it's a little harder. But now I'm realizing there's more services, like more streaming services that allow us to watch tokusatsu. So I just need to reach out more and just seek those out. So again, I could watch more tokusatsu. But again, Power Rangers is still like my number one love.
I got you. I got you. Well,
Yeah.
those other places they're growing. It'll be really cool and impressive. I feel like even a year from now, or even 5 years from now, like people are it's gonna be a completely different game soon. Just watch. So let's jump into Power Rangers. So if for whatever reason anybody has been living in a bunker for like the last 5 years, is that when Boom Studios has kicked off kind of the
Yeah,
big
2016. Yeah, 2016. Yeah.
I want you to tell us a little bit about what has been going on with Power Rangers and how Power Rangers has kind of found a new life on the page.
Yeah, with Boom, like my experience with that one is a little funny. It's because I think Mighty Morphin started around Mighty Morphin started around the time when I think we were all just kind of tired of Mighty Morphin just in general. Like we were just tired of every little thing that either a Saban did, it was Mighty Morphin related. So I mean, I went into it thinking, oh man, another Mighty Morphin comic is probably going to get canceled. And then I went to the comic book store on Free Comic Book Day, and there was one of the issues there, and I read it. I was like, this is amazing. So then I subscribed to it, and I kept buying, and I kept buying, and I kept spreading the word about it. It's like, you guys need to read this. What I like about it is that it's not the same. It's the same characters that we know, but without the restriction of Sentai footage. So you actually get to see Jason, Zach, and Trini of them, all of them. You get to see them fleshed out more. They did an amazing thing with Drake, and so I mean they flipped around the whole green with evil thing. They brought Draken in, and Draken is a White Ranger, Green Ranger, like fused Ranger, which was amazing to see. I don't know, and also too, it's like it's more modernized for our time. So these guys don't have brick Nokia phones. They got iPhones just like we do. It's cool because it's like it's not just for us, like us diehard fans. It's for anybody that who's just looking for a great comic book to jump into. And at the same time as well, they're pulling lore from other seasons. So it's not just Mighty Morphin. So you're getting stuff from SPD, Alien Rangers. They're even doing new things as well with the Omega Rangers. So it's the new life that the comic has. It's I don't know. It's mind-boggling. Like what Kyle Higgins did, what Ryan Parrott did, and even what Marguerite Bennett did as well. All of them contributed to how amazing this comic book has turned out. 4 or 5 years later.
Like, let's say, who had it before? Was it Paper Cuts? Was that the group?
Yeah, I think either Paper Cuts. I know that they flip flopped around. It's Paper Cuts, and then Marvel. I think there was somebody else as well.
Yeah, because I know like Marvel had it around the time that the '90s movie came out, and that was kind of like a big push. They did a lot of crossovers and tie-ins with that, and it's kind of been like handed off by whoever wanted it at the time.
Yeah,
but to have like Saban pick up the brand again in Nickelodeon, with Samurai, and have these comic books that are somehow even more childlike than the show that they're trying to promote, this kids show that they're trying to put out there, and these comics are even like a step underneath that somehow. Like they're even more pure-hearted, like just for kids, and you turn around and then put it into the hands of somebody who wants to do something crazy with it. And what Boom has done with these, and I haven't read all of them. I think I read up to it was at WonderCon when they announced like the Shattered Grid crossover event, and they gave everybody in the area at WonderCon a sealed copy that they opened up, and at the end,
wait, you were there?
Yeah, I was there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I have one of those. It's at my home somewhere in storage.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I was there. It was great. It was so cool because spoiler alert, I'd put up a big warning here. If you haven't read any of these comics and you're going to, this is a really important one. But basically, they have where the Mighty Morphin series starts is it's kind of not at the beginning like you would expect it. It's right when Tommy, the sixth hero, the Green Ranger, comes into the group. And it's a really fun dynamic of these five who have become friends, who can work really well together, who know each other's dynamics, their highs, their lows. And you have this guy who literally was trying to kill them a week ago, now trying to work with them. And the dynamic of, like survivor guilt and not being, worthy enough to be on this team with these amazing, individuals, and realizing that you are good enough is kind of the whole basis of the story. But basically they kill Tommy. And we got to read that in WonderCon, and everybody was just sitting there, and they kind of did the whole thing, and we all started reading, and you could tell who in the room was finished, because this gasp and then an immediately like deathly quiet hush just like fell over the room in different places. And I was like, they're gonna kill Kyle. Holy like
dude, I remember I forgot, I think either was Ranger Danger or another podcast that he was on, and he was describing that, and I was just like, dude, I would have given anything to be in that room. So it's cool to know that I know somebody who was there, man.
I'll see if I so that was also the same con that I like became pretty good friends with David Yost. Not like best friends, but like I showed up at his booth. He was at the panel, and he kept making eye contact with me, and I was like, oh, okay, it's nothing. And then literally I was at the Boom their table or whatever they had there, and he just kept coming up and hey, you should get this guy, some discounts. He'll probably buy a lot more Power Ranger stuff. And I was like, yeah. And,
what?
Yeah, and he was just like, hey, where'd you get that shirt? It was like the Shattered Grid shirt. Oh, I should have wore that for this episode. Damn it.
Still got some time to change, man.
Oh man, maybe when I recycle everything, I'll cut to a commercial break and we'll come back with it on. But yeah, like he was like, where'd you get that? And I was like, yeah, they got him. And they were like, yeah, here you go, Mr. Yost. And he was like, yeah, oh, it was fun. It was a cool little moment there. But he was able to get me a couple more of those variants of the Shattered Grid that they had there in the little poly bag. And I know I sold one online, but I think I still have the one that I read, and I think, don't quote me on this, I have another one, and if I find that one, I'll send it to you. Jumping back into what makes these comics so good, I think, like you said, they have more room to develop and kind of jump with the characters and kind of go through different obstacles. Like they really kind of flesh out, like you said, like Jason and Trini's sort of one-on-one moments. Like they even spar together in like one of the first issues of Go-Go. which is another one that came on. We'll get to that in a second. But I think what really kind of drove it home was I was reading these and I was like, these are pretty good. These are fun. These are interesting. And talking with a few people who worked on the comic on this show, we had Melissa Flores. She was on the show and she kind of talked about what was sort of on the table, what they wanted to do with these characters. And basically the way that she told me that Kyle thought about it, he basically said that he wants these comics to be as accessible as anything else. And he wants people to read these comics the way that he, as a kid, visualized Power Rangers, what Power Rangers is to him compared to what we got with the show. Like, this is a whole new level. Like, this is, it's a masterpiece in some ways.
Yeah, it's again, because with this show, it's like, you're limited to 20 to 30 minutes with commercials. And then you also got to remember too, it's it's a toy commercial. So, that you're obviously gonna focus more on, the in-suit fighting and, promoting, the latest Megazords, monsters or whatever. So sure, there's been later seasons where, they've done a better job at developing characters, but man, Mighty Morphin, just in general, it was a hit or miss when it came to character development. But yeah, it's cool to see, somebody like Higgins and then, of course, Parrott just shape it in a way that, again, is more accessible and something that is just, it breaks the boundaries. And again, and I think even before the comics had come out, you'd always see these conversations, whether it was on Twitter, whether it was on a Ranger board or whatever, just wow, I want a Power Ranger series where, they do X, Y, Z. They delve more into these characters. What happened here? How is this connected to that? And I think before then, there was such a want for that, and then the comics came through, and it filled that void that we had. Again, it's just amazing, with what they've done, and even with Parrott now, we're right off the heels of Necessary Evil and what he was able to do with the whole White Ranger. He was able to kind of use the behind the scenes drama that happened, and he kind of just weaved that into the story, which is something you're not really when you think about it, it's just you're not supposed to do that, but you did it, and it's great. So keep doing that. Yeah. So to see him and Kyle, do things like that, it's amazing. And again, that's what we needed. I can definitely say my opinion over time definitely changed towards the comics, because this was something I brushed it off. I was just man, Mighty Morph, man, this ain't gonna last nothing but maybe 10 issues. And now look at us. We're 80, 90 issues in, and we're getting a spin-off series. We just had a one-shot this past week, and I think there's another one-shot coming next week. So it's become I think we had this conversation on a Ranger board also. It's become its own universe. Something very similar to DC, Marvel, where they have their own universe. Now Power Rangers, in a sense, in the comic book realm, there's so much stuff that they can pull from. And again, that's what we've wanted from the franchise for so long. And also the comics came at a great time too, because I think around 2016, I think we were all just fed up with Power Rangers, the TV show. I think maybe was it Samurai? Ninja Steel was out.
No, it was Super Mega Force. No, it was Super Dino Charge.
Super Dino Charge. So yeah, I remember the reactions for that. And then we got Ninja Steel. So, dude, for the longest time, the comics, that's all we could look forward to for quality content.
And it's fun. Like you said, this is its own universe now. It's even spun off 2 games now. It's had so many one-shots. I collected, the very first one-shot that they did with just Kimberly, the Pink Ranger. And, they had, the crossover with Justice League. They had the crossover with TMNT now.
Yep.
And it's really, kind of the heyday of Power Ranger comics back in the 90s. They did a lot of this stuff that they obviously wouldn't be able to do if that show wasn't as, groundbreaking as it was. If the show wasn't as well received, they would be like, who wants to buy a Power Ranger comic? But back then you could put, Power Rangers on your macaroni and it's going to, hop off the shelves. And,
yeah.
But, you kind of see that same thing starting to happen now with these comics, and it's a good time to be a fan of these. If you guys like Power Rangers, even if you don't, even if you've watched Power Rangers and you're like, this isn't for me, which there are people out there, sometimes, you might be too old. You might, not fully get it or want to get it, or you might, start with the wrong series and the whole thing kind of just unravels from there. And Mega Force. And there's, oh my God, like we've even had like, Go-Go Power Rangers, which is a spin-off entire series of its own, which Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the comic book series, starts off, with Tommy. Go-Go goes all the way to the beginning, and it doesn't even really make it to Tommy because all sorts of, things happen, and it's completely different by where it is now. It's not just the Mighty Morphin team, like we had like the Omega Ranger, like all this other stuff. Or was it Rangers? I don't know if it's one or two. I haven't gotten that far.
Yeah, it's Omega Ranger. So it's three. Well, three. Well, it was four. Now it's three.
Because there was a purple one, right?
Yeah, there was a blue one.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. That's all good, man. It's a lot to sit through.
Well, the thing is, so I'm really huge on like digital comics, and I used to, like Marvel was this huge supporter of digital comics where you would buy, like your $3 comic and then had like a little code in the back that you could, like rip the little off and, tip tap that into your phone. And then you could read it. And I would do that. I would get the code, put it on my phone, and then bag it. Because usually I want to keep all my comics nice, and I don't want to actually read them or have to buy two. The struggles of a comic book collector. But it was nice to have that digital.
Oh, I know, man. I'm so mixed on digital these days, man. I'm so mixed. Because, like, I'm low-key running out of space to put my comic books. Because I've been collecting physicals for, like, 4 years now. So I think right around the time whenever DC does another reboot, I'm probably going to consider doing digital moving on, because unless I move, I can't keep doing this.
Digital's super nice. Like, I will say, there's a few apps out there. I use Comixology, which is, like one that's super nice. It, lists and puts everything, and they have sales too, which is great. So like a lot of these comics that, even if you walk into a comic store like months later, you still have to buy, the price of the comic, or maybe it's like $10 because it's, they only have the one left. But like sometimes they'll have them for like $1. So like I keep tabs, and anytime, anything Power Rangers related or anything Green Lantern or, whatever related goes on sale, I get an email and I'm like, hey, I can buy the next 5 for $5. I'll do it. And then I haven't read them yet, but they're there. So I can jump into this. And I think I might actually really see it.
Yeah, you should, man. Like I'm more on the side of, I don't know, I like having the physical copy in my hands. But I'll do digital. Like mostly what I'll do is I'll read digital I'll read digital before I go to the comic shop, because I know Twitter is gonna spoil, because I love being on the timeline. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna suck it out. I'll buy digital, and then I'll just go ahead and pick up the physical later, because the timeline is relentless.
Yeah, that is true. If you guys are on, any sort of Twitter, Instagram, common courtesy is nice. I feel like 24 hours should at least, be the thing, or at least tag your things with like something spoilers so that everybody knows, or at least, the comic book series, and you should like be able to like not look at that for a day. Anyway, now I know you're not super big on tokusatsu, but obviously Power Rangers comes from a tokusatsu series, which, are basically like brother and sisters to another series that started, which was Kamen Rider. And Kamen Rider actually started because of comics. Manga, for anybody who's going to be upset, so it's kind of cool to see like someone like Shotaro Ishinomori, who created characters like Cyborg 009 and Skullman, would later be reformatted into Kamen Rider, and to have that show kind of be the basis from a comic to kind of help another show get out, which is Super Sentai, that's been, successful for years, to come over to America, to be adapted and turned into whatever we decide to make it that year. Dinosaurs, don't need them. They're all going to be robots for some reason. It's stuff like that. And then that gets turned back into comics. It just kind of feels like, like when you eat and then it digests and then you poop, it goes back into the soil. And then the soil. That's what we're living in right now.
No, seriously. And yeah, it's cool to see, man. Cause, I don't know, I don't know, before we did this episode, I did a little research on, who that was. And, I didn't even know before then that this was the same person who created Cyborg 009. And I used to love watching Cyborg 009 on Toonami.
Oh, yeah. It was Adult Swim or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was on either Toonami first, and then I think it maybe transferred over to Adult Swim later. But, dude, that was just part of what it was such a great time in childhood, man, coming home from school. And then you had Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Cyborg 009, Gundam.
Oh, my gosh. Dragon Ball Z, I could have a whole shout factory. If you guys ever do anything with Dragon Ball Z, I could host that. I could go on for hours. If you do anything Sailor Moon, we can get Lauren. She's in the other room. Oh my gosh. Toonami, I think, really put a lot of us on a path that we're very appreciative to have, had that experience in that time. Because Dragon Ball Z, nobody outside of, my small 5th grade class really got it. They were either too young or they just didn't care or know about it. But Dragon Ball Z was lit in 5th grade. We got these bootleg magazines, and we were seeing Vegito and Gogeta or whatever the hell they're called. You know that meme where it's Malcolm in the middle and Frankie Muniz and his brother that played his older brother, and they're both on the computer and it's that was literally me in 5th grade. In between Beyblades and whatnot. That's what was going on.
Dude, I remember, I vividly remember this, every single, because Dragon Ball Z used to play new episodes came on every day. So I would watch Dragon Ball Z, and then if you were just one of those unlucky kids who didn't see that episode, you missed out on the conversation at the lunchroom, man. You missed out.
Frieza did what?
Yup.
I don't know. I've never seen Cyborg 009 on Toonami or any of that stuff, so I can't really speak to that. But again, it's just really funny that you have this manga artist who creates something like Skullman, which is a very adult, I would say more adult, version of what would become Kamen Rider, and then you have almost the exact opposite over here, where you have this very kid-centric show that gets very adult themes and, has situations that probably should not be presented to kids, a lot of people would not be okay with that. Oh man, even just thinking to what I have read, I don't remember what issue it is, but Billy and Tommy get teleported to some other dimension. And the issue starts off with, it's a radio report, this disaster happened, Angel Grove, there's Cyril, some people, who are missing. And it literally has each person and their family. So it has Jason and his mom and dad, and, they're hugging him, and he's kind of looking away, and they're oh, we're so glad you're okay. It cuts to Kimberly and, her mom and dad, oh, we're so glad you're alive. Oh my God, we were so scared. It cuts to Trini's family, or I think it's just her mom. I'm not sure. And she's pretty much saying the exact same thing. And then you flip the page, and you have Billy's mom Billy's mom just in tears at the table. All these photos of Billy from age whatever to now, and his father's on the phone, and they're both just in a wreck. And his cuts to the next panel, you have Tommy's mom talking to a police officer, yeah, last time I saw him was yesterday. It's deep, you can't do that on the show.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of like what the not even kind of. I think that's what the joy is with these comics. This is like because I remember for a long time, before Beast Morphers, I think one of the biggest complaints was that the show was talking. It was talking down to the audience that it was targeted for, and with the comic books, it's you know I'm I'm for introducing certain adult themes into kids media, as long as it's appropriate and it's nothing too nothing too out there. So again, I appreciate that they were able to do certain things like that, and it made sense. It's not like they were just putting it in there just to be edgy,
Right.
like them killing Tommy. Like, sure, did that piss a lot of people? Yeah, but at the same time, did it make sense for the story? Was it something that was just done just for the sake of it? No, and I think that's probably a direction that the TV show needs to take some certain cues from. And Beast Morphers was good, but it's cool. It would be cool if we see them take more steps towards once again reintroducing those certain types of themes. Because here's the thing, man, kids aren't dumb. Like, we need to stop treating kids like they're dumb. So, I mean, kids and also kids, I don't know, they tend to enjoy things like that, and they also learn from it too. So, I mean, it's like a double whammy, Give them cool things, and they also get to learn at the same time. Why not?
It's a really tricky business to kind of navigate through, because you may have heard the term, too many chefs in the kitchen. And I think that's what's happening here is there's a lot of people that want it to be a certain thing, and it kind of gets pulled in all these different directions. Yeah, we need to have a Megazord fight. Yeah, we need to, introduce X, Y, and Z. That only gives us maybe 4 minutes of breathable, character room that we could really, have Yellow Ranger. She can go and do this, or that. But it's really hard because you're so dependent on the footage, and you're so dependent upon the creative pool of who can come up with something that can make sense with the footage, or that can, work around the footage, even though most of the time, these shows now record and do their own filming,
Yeah.
And I feel like just seeing how successful and how wonderful the comics are in introducing and keeping these characters alive, issue after issue, that really does lend a little bit of a helping hand to seeing how I believe successful an animated series would be.
Oh my gosh. Please, can it happen? Can it happen? We've been asking about this for years now. And I mean, well, I don't know if you heard the latest rumblings, but supposedly Hasbro's cutting ties with Toei. Maybe there's an animated series on the way. Now I'm waiting to hear, some official word, but I don't know if it's true. I mean, all I gotta say is finally, about damn time.
There's so much there that you can do, and there's so much there that you could potentially step outside of. Like, I feel if they did an animated series, it's probably going to be Mighty Morphin, and a lot of people are going to still have, that audible groan. But if it's handled like the comics, if it even just follows the comics, and instead of leading to the shattered grid moment, it does something completely different that can then, connect or jump to a different series, or we can then follow someone new, like the Omega Rangers, kind of like what they did with Go-Go. I think that's what needs to happen. They need to get their feet wet. They need to get people on board, and then they need to introduce something completely new and just go off in that direction. Have your team of 5. Q Ranger animated. Let's do it.
I always say this, like, there's always, whenever they do like team ups and stuff, there's always like, oh, how come they didn't get this person back? How come they couldn't do this? How come they couldn't do that? Like, listen, with an animated TV series, you can recast, and you can cast anybody to do the voices, and you can still have those same characters come back, and that also helps in making it this big, universe. And again, an animated Power Rangers series, yeah, sure, we're gonna start with Mighty Morphin, but at this point, the comics have shown that you could start from Mighty Morphin and you don't have to stay at Mighty Morphin. Like, I want to say it was like, I think it was like 9 months, almost a year, for a straight year. We had an entire team of Mighty Morphin Rangers that weren't Mighty Morphin Rangers, which was the Beyond the Grid team. Sure, that arc wasn't that well received, but at the same time, like, the fact that they were able to do that and still try it out is something that's it's commendable, and they can do that with an animated series as well. So, dude, the ball is in their court, because with the Sentai footage, just like there's only just so much you can play with, even with the team ups as well, because nowadays the team ups are only like what, maybe they're just one episode. They're not like 2 or 3 like the other ones were, so you really couldn't grow and expand upon this universe. But with an animated series, it's like, dude, it's no holds barred. So, dude, I hope that rumor is true, and we really get to see some sort of animated series follow up from Hasbro.
It'd be really cool is if you had this sort of like animated anthology where it leads all the way up to Zordon's death, and then Zordon escapes into the real world and gives real people powers, and that's where you start your new team, and then you can jump off from there and keep it going, as well as keep the original kind of a foot in it. And it would be cool too, because it's animated, so you could have it take place like in the 90s and early 2000s of when all that took place, and it would be fun because people love the 90s now.
No, yeah, dude. Even there's supposed that movie rumor that they're supposed to be doing the same thing. They're gonna be like bouncing around from like different time eras as well.
I auditioned for Ninja Steel Yellow and Mighty Morphin, the new Power Ranger 2017 movie Billy, and I didn't get it. But if the time travel one does come out, I'm going for that one. Let's do it. 2022 or whatever.
Yo, cast my boy Squall, man. Cast my boy Squall, please.
I want an animated series so badly. I think, I don't know. It could be really good. It could be really questionable if they go like the Ultraman, like really, I don't want to call it lazy animation, but it's that 3D stuff that I can't get into it. It just it's like 3D without the textures, and it just doesn't look like it, took very long. It's like just a character that they dragged and drop onto a backdrop, and then they're like, all right, your character A walks here and stops at this point. It's, I don't know. I'm so selfish, and I'm like, I want it to be like fully celled, drawn. I want it to, be good, but I know like it's gonna be just whatever they can throw out, and because it's gonna be a lot of action scenes, it's gonna be easier to do this type of graphics.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because a lot of the Netflix shows, I don't watch them because of the animation. And that's not to knock them. There's some that are pretty good, but I feel like it's kind of just something they always just rely on when it comes to these shows. I don't know. Maybe they're cheaper to make. I don't know what the logistics are behind it, but for Power Rangers, that can't be it. It's like it has to be somebody that's fully drawing it. And here's the thing too, like, it's under Hasbro now. So I would hope that Hasbro, if this is true, I hope they don't cut corners, with that. I hope they get the best animators, they get the best voices. Probably JDF is probably going to come back, because listen.
Johnny Young Bosch is going to voice the whole cast.
He's going. Yeah, dude. So, there's just so much that they can do with that. And again, I really hope if they do it, make it fully drawn. Don't cut corners, and really give us the animated series that, that's something. Give us the animated series that we've been hoping for such a long time. Because again, you guys have shown that, you can do your thing when it comes to comics, but if you could take it to the next step and really just elevate it with an animated series, dude, hey, you know what? Power Ranger slander will never be tolerated ever again.
And I think like a lot of people in the tokusatsu community look down to a certain extent Power Rangers, because that's how a lot of us got into Toku. And now that we watch Toku, it's like, we're too highbrow for that. I think, I would take even like a cartoon, looking like an Ultimate Spider-Man or like a TMNT. Like I'll take that for Power Rangers, because I feel like if the storytelling is there, if the dialogue between everybody is cohesive and it works and it's not super pandery, I think this could work. This could be the ticket to really reviving this brand, and this brand doesn't need to live off of live action. I think,
No.
Just my 2 cents.
No. And we also got to remember too, like, I remember people really didn't care for the comics when they first came out. So it was just like, oh, this is just fan fiction. I was like, I mean, well, this isn't...
All seasons are fan fiction.
Yeah, like this is what comics are. It's kind of just fan fiction. But anyways, I remember in the beginning, there really wasn't that much positive reception or any reception in general when it comes to comics. But then once it started getting more traction, people were just like, oh, wait, this is good. This is great. And now look at it. Like, dude, like Mighty Morphin 50 just went to second printing. I said on Ranger Command, I was like, dude, I never thought I'd see that. A Power Rangers comic going into second printing for like, I think it could be like the second time. Like the first one was when Shattered Grid first came out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, dude, it goes to show that when whoever's behind it really wants to put their best foot forward, dude, there's just a general public that's just going to eat that up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the brand needs. And also alongside, animated, like, well, with the animated series too, it's just another avenue for it to grow. Because, I mean, it's just a great business practice. You got the TV show, if that's still going to happen. You got the movies, you got the comics, you got the animated series. Dude, what more do you have to lose?
And it's crazy too, because like I know I probably said this on the show already. Like I used to work in elementary schools, and so I would see kids come into school, kids with backpacks that have Ninja Steel on it. They have
Mm-hmm.
Beast Morphers on it. And I was like, oh, dude, is that Beast Morphers? And this little kid, he was like, yeah. Like, no matter what I think, no matter what anybody else our age in this fandom thinks about the show, it still is hitting that demographic like it did for me when I was running around with a Ninja Storm backpack. So,
dude, you had a Ninja Storm backpack?
Hell yeah.
Dude, let's go.
But anyway, that's all that we have for this episode of Let's Talk Toku. Thank you so much for coming on and spending the hour with us.
Dude, no problem, man. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, where else can we find you?
I'm on YouTube as well. So Roliver Queen reviews. I stream every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, I mean, I talk about the latest happenings in the comic book world, TV, regular life. So it's just a chance for me to interact with my core audience, which is awesome. About it, yeah, this is about it. Also, I'm on Leg10 Of Boom. So it's Leg10 of Boom. Soon, I know it's been a while. But yeah, thank you guys for the support, all who've been supporting, and thank you guys for the upcoming support after this episode.
No, thank you for coming on. This has been good. I know we've had a few people ask when are we going to talk about, like Power Ranger comics or the Kamen Rider manga or anything like that. So I'm putting this out there to you guys. If anybody out there is really well versed on the Kamen Rider, Kamen Rider Legends, the Ultraman manga, anything like that, my DMs are always open. So maybe we can continue this conversation on another episode. But that's all we have. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you all on the next episode. Bye.
Woo.